So pretty much the things you need is you're gonna need your demerara sugar, a wire whisk, measuring cup, a sturdy pot, and you know that you're gonna clean and prep by boiling water in it, and you're gonna need an ending container or bottle to receive that syrup. And in my case, it's gonna be an old Toki bottle, and you're gonna pour it in there after, of course, after it cools. And what you need is a good demerara sugar. I usually make a choice. It runs just around $3. And to make 1 cup of the rich demerara syrup, you're gonna need 2 cups of that Jamaican choice demerara syrup, sugar to make the syrup. And, you know, even measuring as even as you can. And you're going to put that in with 1 part water, 1 cup. Alright, the water is boiled. This is for the cleaning stage. We're going to cut that off. And we're going to refill it with our 1 cup of water and get it boiling. So now we're ready to sterilize our pot. We're ready to pour our 1 cup of water in here. You know, because it's 2 to 1. That's the 1. Pop that bad boil on high. You want to get that to a boil. And you measure it out. You could put a tiny bit over the 1 cup. That way, if when it first gets boiling, you know, you're going to lose a little water, and that'll help you in getting the right dilution of sugar to water. Okay, so you get your water to a boil, and you're going to slowly start to stir in your brown sugar, your demerara sugar. If you don't have demerara, you can use brown sugar, and you may want to have an oven mitt on hand just in case. And if you want to make vanilla, what you're going to add into this is you're going to add in a tablespoon of vanilla extract, 2 teaspoons if you want it lighter. I just use a tablespoon to make it rich, and I use organic vanilla extract. And you may want to have an oven mitt handy just in case it gets hot. Mine boils high, and I keep this on high the whole time I'm stirring. You want this all to dissolve. And you just kind of constantly stirring, you know, whipping it along so it doesn't stick, and so that all gets dissolved. This will take a couple of minutes. I'm going to show you what boil stage I like to get. I like to when it bubbles up hard, and then I temper it a little bit by cutting it, lowering the temperature, raising it, and constantly keeping it moving. So as you see, as it starts to bubble up around the edges, it's going to eventually get really bubbly. And just constantly whipping that around. This is on high, of course. You don't need to temper it to a medium when I make a soup, making syrup. And eventually, as you work it, that heat will spread, and it'll bubble hard. It'll turn like you'll get thick can bubbles, almost like you're making candy. If you're one of those candy maker guys, you want to make candy at home. So, see, those are those brown clouds that you're kind of looking at. Bubble oops, you want it to be that much. Let's see how much it's rocking, and then whoop, gotta tap that down. That's where you kind of want to be at right there. You don't want it to overflow. Keep it stirring, and they'll die down right after you cut the heat off. But keep stirring. Sorry, I went off camera for a minute. Keep stirring, and you want to work that in, and then of course you want to hit that with just a little bit more heat. You know, and this one doesn't need to be on high. A little bit of heat will make it bubble right back into its joint. And give it a little bit more time, about another 10 or 15 seconds. And then stop it. And there you go. And that sugar's going to end up on, some of that's going to end up on the walls. That's why you want to kind of watch that. And then that's going to be about it. That's going to be your syrup. And then you're going to put this aside to cool. Get your pot place. Got to cool in the pot. Once it's cool, you're going to bottle this up, and it'll be ready for you. And this will last for a while. That's why the cleaning of the pot and that high temperature extra burst you know, helps add to the longevity. And I find the Demarara syrup seems to last longer than the brown sugar. And I've had it for a while. I've kept syrups for weeks. If you refrigerate it, it's even longer. I don't even do that a lot of times. Most times I just keep it right in the bowl, and it's just fine. Just a little extra run. Like I said, you do it a couple times, it'll bubble up. You get it right before it bubbles up. You don't want to whip too much air into it, but you want it to just, it'll make it thicker. This build over will make it thicker by a long shot, and kind of pasteurize it along so that it stays preserved in that bottle. The cleaner your bottle is, or if you spike the bottle with alcohol, it'll kill the germs in it, but it makes a buffer space in it for germs to form. So, you know, if you clean the bottle, wash the bottle, clean the bottle, let it dry out. Yeah. I don't normally do that. I just normally clean the bottle and let it dry completely and add the syrup to it. But I've seen people that they spike it with a little bit of vodka, the receiving bottle, to clean it out, and then they let it dry. And you could do that. I'm not one of those, but that's something you may see. So that's the syrup cooling. You still see it has a bubble surface. That bubble surface will stay on there. That's like the candy surface. It stays solid. When it's reintroduced to the syrup, it will, you know, it'll stay as syrup. Pigs will watch over it while I get myself together, and then we'll bottle this up. And it cools. It usually takes, depending on the temperature of your house, you don't want it to high-speed cool. Maybe about 30 minutes to an hour. Usually give it an hour, so that it's definitely room temperature or less. And then I bottle it up, and I make sure I got me a good funnel on hand, and we'll get that Toki bottle filled. So quick note, whatever you do, don't cover this while it's cooling, because it'll make water vapor on top. What you want to do is make sure while this is cooling, it stays open. Definitely, if not, you're going to get water in here. Your syrup's going to last less. You may even get a little water on top if you didn't do enough boiling. That's why I go back in and boil it a little bit longer and stir it to make sure there's definitely no vapor in it, and also make sure that your measure of 1 cup or whatever the water level is going to be is very accurate with that little bit over, so that, you know, you get it exactly right. All right, so stuff is finally cooled. Get your bottle and your funnel, and we'll funnel it up. That'll take a little bit. It's just been cooling for more than an hour, so, you know. And just make sure you date and label your syrup, and, you know, keep an eye on it. All right now. So as you can see, the thickness level is thick, almost like maple syrup, like, you know, breakfast syrup. And it takes a little bit to work its way down. So even after you bottle up, you're gonna want to leave the top open just to make sure it's fully cooled. And you get a lot of shine left in the pot. You can get it all if you want. So 1 cup fills about half of a 750. So, you know, and I put them in the shorter 750 so I can put them in my bar cabinet to have the syrup. But, you know, I do rich Demarara and then rich white, depending on the cocktail. But, you know, that's all you need to do. Yep. Cheers and good pouring from Blue Pig Reviews.